All right, starting at the very bottom. I think, all right, so Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson is probably the question you're asking. I went Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson has played more games this season, and I think he's made enough improvements to his game. Okay, Cam Thomas scored more points. I'll give you that, all right? But he's only played 26 games this year. Even Cam Johnson hasn't played that many games. I think Cam Thomas was at 23 points a game. Remember, he was going to be an all-star. So this was a tough decision. But I think ultimately with shooting percentages and rebounds and defensive stats, I went with Cam Johnson on this one. This dude has no accolades. I also like him. So I might be a little bit biased. And there's a lot of Cam Thompson stands out there. So I have a pretty strong feeling that a lot of people are going to have a problem with me saying that Cam Johnson is the best player on the Nets. Because even in the offseason, one of them might get traded. Who do you build around? Who do you build around if you're the Nets? Because those are probably their two best players. And everyone thought Cam Johnson was going to get traded, and he didn't get traded. I don't really know what the Brooklyn Nets are doing. They're not a bad team. I think Cam Johnson has more value. I think he has more trade value. But for some reason, I'm thinking Cam Thomas could probably sign a bigger contract. That's my theory on this. I'm ready to move on from the Nets because that is the worst team. Cam Johnson is. Ryan Orsillo did this exercise, or he talked about this exercise, and that's what gave me the idea to do this. The question was, who is the worst best player? And in my opinion, it is Cam Johnson. Then it's Anthony Simons, because I think Anthony Simons is the best player on the Trailblazers right now. And it was kind of hard. If you're looking at advanced stats and you're looking at box plus minus and you're looking at who's actually out there by the math, it's Denny Avdija. But Anthony Simons has played a lot of games for this team. Shaedon Sharpe is sort of out of the starting rotation. Some people are going to say Toumani Camara, and I agree. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's good. He's a really good player. What a star. Playing really well. Who would have known? Those poor Suns gave him up. Did you know that? I'm forgetting which trade. I think it was the Nurkic trade. I think Toumani Camara came back. He was supposed to be a Sun, but he ended up being one of the picks in the Nurkic trade. Someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong. Everyone that watches this show watches a lot of basketball and tells me what's up when I'm wrong, which I appreciate. But it's Anthony Simons to me. And a lot of people are talking about them trading him, which is interesting because I always saw Anthony Simons as the future of Trailblazers basketball. He was the young guy. I mean, he was the best player after Dame left, I think. Maybe you want to say it's Jeremy Grant. It's not Jeremy Grant now. And now they're saying, yeah, they're going to trade him. They're going to focus on a younger team. I'm like, he is young. Anthony Simons is young, isn't he? I don't even know how old he is. He just feels young to me. Dunk contest championship. Hold on. Dunk contest champion. Remember that? Remember the Anthony Simons year? It actually wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as the Obi Toppin year. Think back at the Obi Toppin year, and then thank God for Mac McClung. Okay. I had to do it. I know. Zion is better than Trey Murphy, okay? But I couldn't make it through. I couldn't put Zion on this list. I couldn't do it. So if you can't take this list seriously because I'm wrong on this and you don't think I know what I'm talking about and you turn off the show right now, I respect it. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it through a slide saying that the best player on the Pelicans is Zion Williamson because he's been such a disappointment. He's only played 26 games this year. Trey Murphy isn't even having that great of a year. This isn't a pretty incredible year for him. 36% from three. Again, played 48 games, 21 points. Not an incredible year. Of course, not an incredible year for the Pelicans, but man, I can't do it. I can't be like, yeah, Zion's the best player on this team. It would feel so disrespectful to Trey Murphy. I had to. Yeah, Zion is awesome. I think he's one of the best players in the league when he's out there. But he's not good. Because if there's so many games where I'm getting as many points as Zion, like I can't go ahead. I'm not going to be that guy. I think it's one of the most frustrating things when I hear people talk about sports when they dick ride a player who doesn't play, and they just sort of glaze their old highlight reel. I can't do it. I won't do it. Trey Murphy, best player on the Pelicans. It's Vooch. Dude, it was Levine. It could have been Caruso at the beginning of last year. But, dude, it's not Kobe White. Kobe White, if you look at the numbers and you look at the output, Kobe White doesn't really shoot well enough or score enough to be the best player. It's still Vucevic. I hate to break it to you. That's how bad the Bulls are. It's not Giddey. I don't think nobody stands with Giddey. Listen, I forgive all sins. I am graceful. Giddey's just not that good of a player. Vucevic is still, remember, the Golden State Warriors wanted to trade for Vooch. That was someone that they had in mind. That was someone that was going to make Steph happy. So when I looked at the numbers, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, he's the best player on the Bulls, which is, I'm sorry, Bulls fans. Who else would it be? Y'all still riding with Patrick Williams? Jordan Poole. If you look at Jordan Poole's numbers, he's good. He's actually kind of good player. 1.4 steals. You'd think he was good at defense. And I kind of looked up. He's actually not, all things considered, everyone on the Wizards is going to have a bad net rating because that team just isn't good and they give up tons of points. Poole's isn't the worst. Kispert's is by far the worst. So someone out there, because there's a lot of random ass fans of random ass players, somebody out there was about to say, Corey Kispert. Gonna quote some stat about Corey Kispert. Your boy ain't good on defense. I hate to break it to you. Check the facts. He sucks. I shouldn't say he sucks. He's a great player. Anyone who plays in the NBA is an exceptional basketball player. I'm not even a Jordan Poole fan. I'm not even standing up for him. But if you look at his numbers, he's like 37% from three, shooting 9.4 a game. It's pretty good. The field goal percentage is bad. He nails his free throws. He gets some assists a game. I don't know where the Wizards are going, but if I have to pick one guy who I think who provides the most value for the Wizards, or just is the best basketball player, Jordan Poole. I don't have anyone I could argue. Chris Middleton? No. I can't even. He hasn't been on the Wizards enough for me to put him there. But hold on. You'll see. Lauri Markkanen. Again, afterthought. I haven't watched a single Utah game this year. I haven't watched any. So really what I'm usually basing these opinions on is from what I've seen, from the data that I get from Basketball Reference and NBA.com, and occasionally StatMuse, and general sentiment from the internet and from the media. And what I've got from Lauri Markkanen is it's a on ice year. It's a just chilling in the cryogenic chamber year. Played 43 games. Stats aren't anything to write home about. They're basically the lowest stats you can possibly get as the number one on your team. His contract's really big, so I'm not saying he's the best value on that team, but he's the best player on the Utah Jazz. Again, this is up for debate. It's hard to organize 30 different guys and rank them all in order. It's difficult. So I'm open to hearing other opinions. I'm actually very curious to what everyone thinks. Barnes. Part of me thinks I might have been a little bit gracious with Barnes because I was a little bit hard on him on the most disappointing players, and there were a lot of people that came to his rescue. So in order to not, I think there was part of me that didn't want to upset the good people that watched the show. So I gave him a little bit of a bump. Because his shooting percentage is hard to look at. Y'all know it's true. RJ actually does score more points, and everyone was saying, hey, if you actually watch Raptors games, you'll see. RJ is not our best player. It is Scotty, and it's not even close. So I did watch a Raptors game, and there needs to be a stat for who has the ball the most, who touches the ball the most, who passes the ball the most, who's in control of the game the most. It's hard to really find that because usage rating is not a good. Usage is just whoever takes the shot, gets fouled, or turns the ball over. And the highest usage rating on that team is RJ Barrett. So you'd look at it and say, well, that's their guy, But when you watch a game. It is Barnes. And he's athletic. 7.8. He can be a Jason Tatum. That is sort of the archetype that you would want to see him turn into. He is not. He can pass, he can rebound, he can block, he can steal. He can kind of do it all. But he can't shoot. And in basketball, you got to be able to shoot, man. The ball's got to go in the net. It's really, if you can do it well enough, you don't have to be able to do anything else. We'll move on. But that was for you, Raptors fans. I did that for you, so you wouldn't. So I should just do it so they would yell at me and people would comment. LaMelo. And it ain't Brandon Williams, because my real gripe with LaMelo is he can't stay healthy. And or not Brandon Miller. It's not Brandon Miller, because Brandon Miller is even more unhealthy. He has an even harder time staying on the court. Another great player. So yeah, I mean, he might have been in the running, but I'll tell you, the number 2 is Miles Bridges, because Miles Bridges has played like 49 games this year, and he's been pretty solid. He scores. He's a pretty solid basketball player. He will always be a Hornet, because the Hornets are they're an organization. I don't know if they necessarily forgave him of his sins or his crimes, but they know about them, and they don't seem to care. And I think he likes staying on that team because he doesn't have to deal with the drama of moving to a new team and any prior opinions about him and how people feel about what he's done in his personal life. So I think he's always going to be a Hornet as long as he can. I think he feels comfortable there, and I think with everything that's gone on in his life, he just wants to be comfortable. He doesn't want to have to explain anything. And he's a good player, because nobody was even talking about him getting traded at the deadline. He was kind of a perfect trade candidate. I don't think anyone wants to touch him. I don't think he wants to move. But he was up there with LaMelo. Obviously, what is going to happen with LaMelo? He's one of the most fun players to watch that we've ever seen, but he doesn't. I would be nervous if I were him, and I'm approaching maybe 27, 28, 29, and I haven't made the playoffs yet. You get a little bit of anxiety, wouldn't you? You'd say, man, this is getting a little bit, should probably, at least get in as the 8th seed one of these years, huh? So I do worry about him. But he's the best player on the Hornets. And the second best player is Miles Bridges. Don't sleep on Miles Bridges. Or don't, I was a big fan of him until it turned out he was, he's a violent man. I really did like him. I liked his game. Dude can jump. Franz is better than Paolo. I've done it. I mean, last year Paolo was better. This year Franz is the better player. I don't think either of them can shoot, but Franz is more important to the Orlando Magic than Paolo Banchero. More important than Jalen Suggs, because someone brought up the fact maybe Jalen Suggs plays too hard, and that's why he's been getting hurt so much, and that's why he's had such a hard time staying healthy. Maybe he should chill a bit. Which was an interesting thought. And is there something to be said for that? Because that is something I've been thinking about. I tend to criticize guys for getting hurt all the time, and people don't like that. I think most people think that anytime a player gets hurt, it is in no way something that they could have prevented or in no way their fault. It's just a happenstance that is just something unfortunate that happened to them. I'm of the belief that you can play in a way to avoid being injured. I think things do happen. I think people get injured. Obviously, you can't avoid it. But to some degree, I think there are small things you can do to avoid injury. And the reason I believe that is because a lot of players seem to be able to do it. Granted, LeBron James used to be my example, but he did a spin move and tore his crotch last night. So maybe I'm wrong. Alperen Şengün. I wanted to put Jalen Green on here. I wanted it to be Jalen Green because I wanted to have a spicy take. I wanted a hot take. I didn't want to do like a safe bet. And it's not Jalen Green. Jalen Green, if you look at defensive stats, he's negative. the highest scoring player on the team is Jalen Green. So part of me is like, ooh, I'm going to have my little case to say that Jalen Green is the best Rocket. He's not the best Rocket. He is a negative on defense and basically a flat 0 when it comes to anything sort of box plus minus or net rating. And then if you look at Alperen Şengün, you're like, dang, he's just good. He's just good. And the team is better when he's on the floor. And the next best player, I believe, was Amen. Amen sort of makes up on the defense end what Jalen Green misses out on. That's my thought. But it's Şengün. Cade. Okay, so the people that... It's funny. I think Cade obviously did get better. He sort of is the same player, but his team got better. He got help around him. I'm excited for Cade. I'm glad he's on a good team now. But I'm a little more excited for Malik Beasley and Tobias Harris because I feel like those guys Malik got a ton of guff on the Bucks last year. They were like, he wasn't good. They needed him to be good, and he wasn't good. And he's like, well, dang, I mean, the team wasn't good. Why am I the only one getting blamed? And then, of course, Tobias got torched, roasted all the time in Philly. I don't think he deserved that. Now he's playing, granted, he's not the star of the team, but that team sucked last year, and now they're good. Way better than the Sixers. So, right? Man, if I'm Tobias, I'm laughing. I'm laughing all the way to the bank because I think he got, what, a season, $20 million. $20 million a year, I think. Something like that. The thing about Cade is he still turns the ball over a lot. I watch a lot of Pistons games. And if you watch, like, man, there's some ugly parts of Cade Cunningham's game. But they do win. So I think if Cade Cunningham was on a losing team, I think people would be, man, Cade, he's got to pull it together. If you looked at his stats and he was on a losing team, I think people would be they would be more critical of him. And that's such a stupid thing to say, but I think there would be more of a Cade's got to step it up. But with his stats the way they are and with the team winning, people aren't looking at that 4.5 turnovers a game as critically because there were some really dumb, bad turnovers. So his shooting percentages are better too. I'm good for him. I'm happy for him. Look, he's somewhere in the middle of these rankings. Not bad. Trae Young, and I know a lot of people don't like him. I know a lot of people say, oh, Jalen Johnson, he's the future of the team. And he might be. He's more of a Giannis type. He's more of a Şengün type. He's going to be your triple-double guy soon. But he isn't now. And Trae Young's great. He's an awesome player. He's one of the best players in the league. He's one of the most talented basketball players in the NBA right now. One of the most skilled. I hate to break it to you. 11.5 assists a game, man. 23.8 points. Granted, his shooting percentages are not good. Nevertheless, makes his free throws, gets to the line. I hate to break it to you, Atlanta Hawks fans, but Trae Young is still your guy. He is your best bet. I don't think he's ready. If you want to win, you can't trade him. It's not time yet. Unless you don't want to win. Unless you want to say, you know what, let's blow it up. Let's see if we can get any picks back for Trae Young. We'll build around Jalen Johnson. I would say even that's a risk because he's having a hard time staying healthy, and he is not finna be your star player yet. That's just the truth. That's just the way it is. Your best player is Trae, and it's not even close. That sounded like I was being disrespectful. You have an incredible best player, and Jalen Johnson is good, but he's, not ready yet. Dude, Hero is making it up this list because he is a scorer. I got him a little bit higher than Trae, but now shoot. Trae's better than Hero. Here's where I messed up. I don't know why I put him on. Here it is. I'll call myself out on the order. I think Trae is better than Hero. The slides are out of order. Hero's been great. He's played a lot of games. His shooting percentage is better than Trae. Let's go back. Oh, they have the same exact amount of points. We can just do a direct comparison here. So, spoiled. Okay, so Trey's turning over the ball a lot more, though. 4.8. He turns the ball over more than Cade turns the ball over. Hero at 2.6. Granted, Hero's not the point guard. Maybe Hero is better than Trey. We'll give it to Hero. Is Hero going to be the star? Okay, so I really, probably the most interesting thing about this slide is me saying Bam is not the best player on this team, and it's going to be Tyler Hero. And I'm going to stand by that because Hero is also younger. And I don't know. I think we kind of know who Bam is at this point. I don't think this season's going to be a reflection of the future. I think he's going to be good, but I think Tyler Hero has more room to grow because he does a lot too. I think he's sort of advancing more than LaMelo's advancing. So I'd be a little bit concerned. What year in the draft was? I forget. 2020. I'm trying to think who was in that. 2020 is that Anthony Edwards' year? Was he the number 1 pick? I think he was. I feel good. I feel good having Hero above Trey. Jaren Jackson Jr. And this was tough because I really do like Ja. And I guess I just punished him for having a down year and being injured quite a bit. I wanted to put Ja on here as the best player because I really am a Ja fan. I enjoy watching him play, and I think he's good on that team. So I started to put Ja on here, and then emotionally I just felt, nope, it's not him. It's Jaren Jackson Jr. I hope he comes back. I think he's coming back from his injury soon. That ankle roll. I think he's coming. It would suck. It would suck, especially he's due for a contract extension. I think he's due for like $345 million if he does make DPOY or an All-NBA team. I am sure the Grizzlies are hoping he's not the Defensive Player of the Year or on an All-NBA team because they do not want to pay him that money. It's so convenient because a lot of times teams will campaign for their guy for these awards, and there's part of me that's like, don't campaign too hard. Don't campaign so hard that he's eligible for more money, putting your team in a worse position salary cap wise, and then ultimately just having to write more checks. But he's playing well. Good for him. Best player on the Grizzlies. Siakam, better. Dude, Siakam is good. He is not a sexy player. He does not have a great game, but he plays hard. He's good at defense. He's solid, and he's consistent. That's why I like him. I think if you're going through and you're picking teams, if you're resetting every team, and I think he goes like 12. If you're picking the best player from every team, if you can pick one player from every team, I think you're picking Siakam. Because you're going to get consistency and you're going to get teamwork. You're going to get a guy that pretty much makes the playoffs all the time. And that's valuable. And a guy that doesn't have a giant ego. That's why I like him. He's shooting 40% from 3. Granted, he doesn't shoot a lot of 3s, but he's efficient. He gets rebounds. Plays hard. Doesn't really turn the ball over. What else do you want me to say? Halliburton was close, though, because I kind of obviously had to do my due diligence. I had to go to Basketball Reference, pull down all the Indiana players, and say, hey, who's the best here? And Halliburton was close, but he's just, a little bit down this year. Not shooting as well, not getting as many points, not getting like 10 assists a game like he did last year. Not sure what happened. He just got hot one year, and he made the Olympics. He got to make that Olympic team. How do you feel about that? Getting Tyrese Halliburton minutes and going to the Olympics, or would you rather not gone? I guess that's kind of a dumb question because most people would probably say, yeah, I'd want to be on the team. I don't know. I think a lot of people are just more humble or more willing to sit on the bench than a lot of people. That's really probably a me problem. Let's move on. Maxey. Man, I think I really believe in Maxey. I think that's what it is. I think I've seen him really do great things, and I've seen him do great things in the clutch. So I want to like him, and it's a personality thing. Granted, I've said this before, but I'm losing a little bit of love for Maxey because Maxey's starting to complain a lot. Granted, every player complains all the time now. I think it's just natural. I feel like the standard all the time is to complain about every single call. So if you don't complain, you sort of lose you don't put any edge on the ref. So I think if you're constantly complaining, the ref is always on edge and you get more calls, because if you don't complain, the ref is kind of like, I don't have to worry about them as much, making sure I'm watching all their calls, because they don't get mad at me. They're not going to complain, so I'm not going to be as hyper vigilant watching if they're fouled or not. So maybe you do have to complain all the time, because Maxey complains all the time. Not as bad as a couple players coming up. Kyrie. Kyrie's the best player on the Mavs now. I mean, Anthony Davis he got injured that first game. What a brutal. Okay, so I'm a little bit embarrassed because I made fun of everyone that thought that the Mavs trading Luka was like a conspiracy theory, that they wanted to move to Vegas and they're trying to tank the team so that they'd lose all their fans and make it easier to move to Vegas because the owner, whatever her name is, Adelson, has casinos and she wants to have her sports team near casinos. Just like the dumbest conspiracy theory stuff you ever heard. Now, it doesn't seem that dumb. Okay, obviously you can't plan the Kyrie injury. That sucks, poor guy. I really have grown to love Kyrie and also feel as though I might have been wrong about him in a lot of ways, in an embarrassing way. I got a feeling it actually does suck to play for the Nets. Do you guys have that feeling? I don't know. I kind of feel bad for him, but I do sort of get the vibe that actually did suck. And Kyrie's not a malcontent, and it was actually a bad situation there. Because Kyrie's been really cool. But man, I'm worried about the Mavs. Because how are you going to announce why would you even announce that you're raising the price of season tickets? Do you even have to do that? Why would you make that announcement right now? What do you say? Oh, by the way, I know you're all mad at us for trading away our best player and the future of our franchise. Also, we're raising ticket prices. You didn't even have to say that. Would they tweet it? So yeah, maybe they are trying to tank their stock to make it easy to move to another place. I don't know, but bad business. Very bad business. What are you going to do? Poor Kyrie. Trade Kyrie. Free the man. Trade AD while you're at it. Just blow it up. Blow it up, move to Vegas, move on. Get an expansion team in Dallas. Yeah, you'd hate to see it, but what are they going to do with the Dirk statue? Move it to Vegas? That's an interesting thought. Sabonis. Okay, so I just think Sabonis is great. I think his ability to rebound, and I think the field goal percentage, he's nailing his threes. I kind of want him out of the Kings. I'll be honest with you. I like the Kings. I root for the Kings. I go to Kings games occasionally. I want them to be good. I don't like these historically terrible franchises. I think it really makes me sad. But at this point, Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox got out. He moved away. He gave up, which makes me kind of feel like maybe we free Sabonis. Maybe it's time he wins a playoff series. I still am rooting for the Kings, but I think Sabonis, if he were to be the number 2 on a better team, he could really do some damage. I mean, I think he's in my top 10. I didn't number the slides, but I think he's in my top 10. I mean, a guy doing 19, 14, and 6.2 assists. He never blocks. That's kind of the sad thing. As a center, he doesn't do a whole lot of... Man, can I talk about Sabonis anymore? I feel like every time he's on a slide, I say the exact same things about him. He's a great player. I want him out of the Kings. Even though I love the Kings. It's time. Sometimes it's just time to move on. Doesn't mean anyone's wrong. Doesn't mean that anyone did anything bad. Sometimes things are just incompatible. Remember that. Don't be afraid to cut people out of your life. James Harden. Yeah. Kind of high on the list. I'm a Harden lover. I think he's one of the best basketball players in the league. As a fundamental guy that can bring value to any team that he comes to, he's good. And man, he's played 60 games. He's just out there playing basketball. You can talk about the highs of all these players, like, oh man, this guy, when he's good, he's the best. Oh, Harden's washed. Dude, he's out there. He is out there and he's facilitating. Kawhi, I don't know. He is a giant question mark. What's he doing out there? I can tell you the only thing certain about Kawhi Leonard is he's getting paid $50 million this year. He's getting paid $50 million next year. And the following year, another $50 million. There aren't a lot of certainties in life. But Kawhi Leonard getting paid $150 million, that's straight from the Bible. But Harden's the best player. You may say, well, Norm Powell, Joe, Norm Powell? What about him? No. Norm Powell gets his points. I think at this point, Harden is getting more points than him. Granted, Norm Powell's been out for a while. Harden's been playing. He's durable, man. The only time he was really out for a long time was when he's in Brooklyn. And I got a feeling he just didn't want to play. I got a feeling he could have been out there because he pretty much plays through everything. And the only time he's really had a long bit of duration of being injured was when he was in Brooklyn. Again, it may just suck to play in Brooklyn. Donovan Mitchell on the Cavs. I had to. Just because the Cavs are so good. Darius Garland, also good. Because I kind of wanted to put him on the list, but everything's a little bit better with Mitchell. He's their guy. He's their scorer. If he's injured during the playoffs, it's not happening. Evan Mobley, again, another guy that could, I think you could also, another YouTuber out there is probably making a list, and Evan Mobley's at the top. No one's making a list of Darius Garland's on the top. It's unfortunate, but you can make the case that Evan Mobley is, basically Mitchell is a better version of Garland, and Mobley is a better version in every way than Jarrett Allen. But all very good, and there's a case to be made for all of them. But I'm giving it to Mitchell. Mitchell, okay, he was good in Utah, but when he got to Cleveland, he was making, now, I mean, he's going to be an all-NBA player this year. 2023, he was an all-NBA player. I think he didn't make the 65-game limit last year. That's why he wasn't an all-NBA player, but dude's good. Again, another guy, if you want to be liked in the NBA, if you just want to stay out of everything, not get criticized a lot, don't talk. Just play basketball. You'll be Donovan Mitchell. It's good. It's a good way to be. Victor Wembanyama, again, gotta pour one out. I'm not gonna pour my delicious Coke Zero out, but you gotta pour one out for Victor Wembanyama. Bums me out to think about his blood clot. Blood clots freak me out. Anything heart related. You know, when people talk about irregular heartbeats and stuff, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a story. There's this guy named Guy Langtang. Went to my high school from Cameroon. Super tall basketball player guy. He kind of came over to play basketball. Ended up going to a JUCO in New York after. In a couple years, because he was older than me, they called the school and said, hey, Guy died. Because Guy had an irregular heartbeat. So I think ever since I heard that story, anytime I hear about a basketball player like LaMarcus Aldridge, Brandon Ingram, and they're talking about blood clots or some sort of blood clotting disease, or maybe a player has an irregular heartbeat or something like that, freaks me out. So pray for your boy Wemby. It would suck. I'm honestly, yeah, that heart stuff freaks me out. Excellent player. I mean, 3.8 blocks a game. He was going to be the blocks leader again this year. He's not getting any of that stuff, and it just sucks for the trajectory. I'm a big legacy guy. I don't know, and legacy is not a good word. Remember Mike Tyson saying to that little kid, the little kid giving him the interview, says, what do you think about your legacy? He's like, I'm going to die. I'm going to be dust. No one cares. Maybe my family, but that's it. I don't care. It's all ego. And the little kid's like, oh, I didn't really think about that. If you haven't seen that video, stop watching this video. Watch that video. That video is way better than this video. Or maybe I'll just throw it in the middle here and try not to get flagged. But it just sucks that I think Victor Wembanyama was having a trajectory where it could have been DPOY, 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 first team All-NBA, first team All-NBA, maybe a championship. But now I'm a little concerned because none of that shit's happening this year. I mean, Minnesota isn't great. The Julius Randle, I've talked about this last week. I'm not going to get into it. But sneakily, sneakily? Is that the adverb for sneaky? Anthony Edwards is having a great season. 40% from three, 27.2 points per game. What is he like? He has to be top 5 in points per game. Shooting really well. I guess his field goal percentage isn't great, but effective field goal percentage is really good. Nailing his free throws, getting assists, getting rebounds. That team just hasn't figured it out. Turns out Karl Anthony Towns was very important. Do you think Durant ends up in Minnesota? Do you think Durant ends up in Minnesota? And do you think that's a good idea? I'm pro. I don't know what Minnesota has to trade, but I'm very much pro that last year. Here's the thing, though. Durant's going to get traded, and then he's going to want to get extended. That's the real problem. So anyone that trades for Durant, he's going to come in like this. So, what are we talking? I'm thinking 3 years, $60 million apiece, and somebody's going to have to say, we're not going to pay you $60 million at 39 years old. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I'd like to see it, though. I think it would be interesting, to say the least. Luka, and I wanted to put LeBron. But if you watch Lakers games, you can tell LeBron is fine not being the number one on that team. He wants to... Oh, you can't see his stats. I'm sorry, guys. Let me pull out... Let me raise this up a little bit. Sorry about that. And... Is that better? Yeah. So, Luka is going to be the number one on that team. It's not going to be LeBron, and I think it's going to work. Luka is still, though, to give Nico Harrison a little bit of credit, Luka's still pretty bad on defense. If you watch ESPN, you would think, oh man, he's actually trying now on defense. Because that's what they say. They say there's a little bit of effort there. No, there's not, man. No, there's not. Luka is still not good on defense. He still does not care. He still doesn't try. He's still out of shape. He's still got a lot of skill, though. And the ball is going to be going through him a lot. And he's going to be the focal point of that Lakers team. And man, I think the attitude's getting even worse. Dude, Luka is not chill, man. He is screaming on the court a lot. He is very angry. And it comes out on the refs a lot. It comes out on other players a lot. And I gotta say, Luka, it's so surprising to me because he seems like such a cool guy. But then when he's on the court, you're like, dude, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't think you can complain to refs, you can sort of like get in their face, but man, he is screaming. He screams a lot. So, I'm not sure how much of a Luka fan I am. And I haven't fully processed my feelings about him, but anyway, Durant's having a good season. Devin Booker is actually not having a bad season either. But the thing about Kevin Durant, he's a good defender. And he's an efficient offensive player. But he's paid and he got traded for like he's a guy that can go off for 40 points a game. And he isn't that player. So, yeah, is it good to have efficient players? It is, but you need a high-volume guy on your team. And a guy that can take over and be like, I'm just going to win this for us. I don't think Durant has that anymore. Again, though, that's literally my only criticism for him. Because he is the best player on the Suns. And he still has a lot of value. Honestly, if I'm the Timberwolves, I'll say, you know what? We'll trade. We'll give you Julius Randle. We'll give you a couple picks. And we'll throw in a Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Or whatever, okay? We'll throw it in. We don't care. We'll take him. We'll extend him 3 years. Or 2 years. Jimmy Butler got 2 years. We'll give you 2 years. 2 years, $60 million. I'd do it. I would do it. Because you got the high-volume guy is going to be your Anthony Edwards, shooting 40%. I think that's a match made in heaven. And those guys like each other. Right? Anthony Edwards was like a big KD fan. Of course, Ant punked him in the playoffs. So maybe he's like, pass on that old man. It wouldn't surprise me. Steph Curry. Man, I'm so happy that Jimmy went there. Listen, Jimmy businessed. He took his leverage and he businessed his way out of Miami. If you're sentimental about sports, you won't like what Jimmy did. If you're a businessman, you're gonna say, dang, this is a swindler. Because he got out, he got paid, and this team has turned it around. Also, Jimmy was not playing hard in Miami. And I think a big part of success is effort. And a big part of effort is defense. And if you got a guy like Jimmy Butler on your team who's not going to let anything slide versus a guy like Andrew Wiggins on your team who just isn't a vocal leader, we're seeing the value now. I mean, the Golden State Warriors, what are they, 5th or 6th? I think they're like 5th or 6th in the West. Before the Jimmy trade, I think they were out of the play-in. I could be wrong about that. So I'm really happy for Steph. And did you see that like full court? I mean, it was like 3/4 of court bucket. That 3. Man, he's just so good. And he's fun to watch and he's humble. And I love him. So maybe I'm a little bit of a Steph Glazer, but whatever I have him at, I think he's the 4th best. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. And Cat's playing really well too. This is the best season of his career. Listen, Brunson's great, but Cat is important to that team. And I don't think they can do it without Cat. 24.2 points a game. I think total rebounds 13.3. I think he's second in rebounds this year. 41% from the 3. Shooting 5 a game. Playing good defense too. He's a rim protector now. Well, now they got Mitchell Robinson out there now. Who's playing? When I was watching the Knicks-Lakers game, I was impressed with Robinson. I don't know his stats right away, but when I was watching, I'm like, dude, he looks... Someone had made a comment of him looking kind of chunky. And I saw a photo and I was like, yeah, he does look kind of chunky. But then when I saw him on the court, maybe it's my TV, I thought, dude, Mitchell Robinson looks like a beast out there. So I'm excited about Cat. And I think we're kind of seeing what he can do. I'm assuming he's going to be first team All-NBA, right? Better, and he's only been third team All-NBA while he's in Minnesota. So I'm happy for him. I think he's in a better situation than he was even the last couple of years in Minnesota. So, I mean, it's close to a similar situation, but I think he's a little better off at the Knicks. I had to. I'm not a Tatum fan. How often have I talked about Tatum and I just make fun of him all the time? And I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to give him his flowers, man. He's basically a slightly worse version of Giannis when you look at the stats. But again, he is a reigning champion. If they do win the finals, I do hope he gets a Finals MVP. I'm not even a fan, but I just want him to get a Finals MVP. If Jaylen Brown takes another one, especially because like Jaylen Brown is not playing well this year, the Celtics are just good, and I think that's why Jason Tatum, he made a comment about him not getting enough credit, which fair enough. Don't say it. If you feel that way about yourself, don't say that you're not getting enough credit. Let someone else say it. But anyway, he's right, and I think the main reason is because his team is so good. People are like, yeah, you're making first team All-NBA all these years. You're, winning and you're making the Eastern Conference Final every year. But your team's good. Also, you have you have the highest payroll in the league. So you're paying all these really great players and you happen to be on that team. Like, one of you is going to make first team All-NBA. So I think that's sort of the argument against him. But I got him here on 4th. Then Giannis. These are the legendary Pokemon. These are the legendary Pokemon of the NBA. There's all the guys, and then there are these 3 guys that are coming up. You do not see stats like these guys. Look how much the points per game, these are the guys, they can do everything. 30 points per game, 30.9 points per game, 12.1 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists. They do it all. These are biologically a different species than all the other players that we've just talked about. I think the Bucks do have a chance at winning the championship. I don't think you can count them out. They are the in-season tournament winners. Remember that. Remember that tournament? I feel like that tournament makes the season feel so long. So I think Giannis is he's gonna make the 65 game, and he's gonna be first team All NBA again. Obviously out of the MVP race, but nevertheless, I think everyone's out of the MVP race except for one guy at this point. Jokic is out. All right, I'll just talk about what can be said more about Jokic? I mean, he break the record? He broke a record, but he did something no one's ever done before, which is 20 assists, 20 rebounds, and 30 points. But I watched the Denver Nuggets game today against the OKC Thunder, and Shai gets the MVP. He does, because they won that game. I don't even know what he finished with, but it was over 40. I turned the game off because at some point, I'm a Nuggets fan. I'm a Jokic fan. I'll get into this. But at some point, you know that feeling when you're watching the game, the point when you turn the game off and you get that sense of relief because you have so much tension in your heart because you're like, ugh, and then you're watching your team go down like, 14, and there's 3 minutes left. And then the 2 minute mark hits and then you're down 16 and you're like, You shut the laptop off, you turn off the TV, you start watching whatever, you turn on White Lotus, and you're like, it's over. We lost. The game's done. It feels nice because you give up. And I think I sort of gave up on Jokic getting the MVP after, because Shai deserves it. What's there more to say? And now we can talk about Shai. 32.8 points per game. Again, legendary Pokemon status. Shooting 89% from the free throw line and getting to the free throw line more than anybody is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Whole team's good. I want the Nuggets to win, but I think the Thunder deserve it. I want to talk to you guys about something. I think the Nuggets are bad. I think the Nuggets are actually a bad team. And it could just because I'm a Jokic fan and I'm sort of a proxy Nuggets fan just because I like Jokic, but when I watch their games, I think Jamal Murray can't play defense. I was watching them play the Kings the other day, and he was just getting torched by DeRozan, and there were times where he actually gave up. He just got cooked, and then he stopped. And I also think, listen, I root for Russ because I'm a Nuggets fan, but there's part of me that thinks he's not good, and he's still not good. He wasn't good on the Clippers. He wasn't good on the Lakers. And I think Jokic props a lot of these guys up. KCP could be the same way, but when I watch these games, there's definitely part of me that thinks, that asks the question, because I don't want to be too critical, but definitely asks the question, is this a bad team? Is the only reason this team looks good because of Jokic? Because Russ, I looked at his numbers. I think he shoots 32% from three, which was kind of surprising. So I guess I shouldn't be too critical. But there are just times where he misses layups, and then Michael Porter Jr. looks so slow. Again, these could just be on nights where we lose, but I don't know. I'm a little bit down on the Nuggets. All right, I've been going for too long. My battery's about to die. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the best player. The best player on the best team. Okay, thanks for hanging out. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.